right center field. That's got carry. It's gone. Number 500 and history for Miguel Cabrera.
Bottom line is, man, it's hard to break us now. It's hard to break us. As a matter of fact, you ain't going to do it.
Open look. Torres. He hits it.
What a play called by Tom Izzo in that timeout.
I was 7 years old watching a football game by myself, and I saw those winged helmets come out of the tunnel, and I was hooked at that point.
Kane in Chicago. Oh, my God.
Kane with the overtime winner. Jameer Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
He drives, lobs to JD for a jam.
You play real good, you start. You don't play as good, you work your way back in. It's the American way, except America has gotten soft. But that is the American way. That's the way it works.
This is the 6'6" Kane Cunningham.
Jameson Williams, he's got it. Touchdown, Lions.
Now it's Larkin with a burst of speed. He scores. Gives the United States the lead for the first time tonight.
Well, they didn't have the lead last night. Dylan Larkin did score, and unfortunately, the Red Wings didn't win. Welcome, everybody, on this Wednesday morning to X's and Bros throughout this wonderful state of Michigan. I'm Matt Shepard. Trent Bally is our producer. We are brought to you this hour by Mitch Lyons Wealth, MitchLyonsWealth.com. You can call us on the Wire hotline, 866-838-4843. Let your frustration spill over. We're okay with that. You can text us, Sports Radio 21,000. You can join us in the chats via Twitter, via YouTube, or via Facebook. Red Wings fall 3-2 to Ottawa. Sens have now won 4 in a row. They win back-to-back games. They were in New York a couple of nights ago, won 2-1. Last night, they jump out to a 3-0 lead. Dominic Shine scores. Dylan Larkin scores. Detroit can't complete the comeback. They fall 3-2. Sens now sit second in the wild card. They have the second wild card spot, tied with the Islanders in points, but it's Ottawa who's in charge right now as far as that second wild card. Wings collected now just 15 points in their last month of play. January 25th, they were in first place in the division. March 25th, this team is on the outside looking in. March 25th, this team is in the Atlantic, sitting 6th. When people talk about the March swoon, that's what they're referring to. Detroit is minus in goal differential over that stretch, and their power play that was so effective early on is at a 14% clip. Here's what's frustrating more than anything else last night. You can be pissed off about the loss. Me too. You can be pissed off about how Ottawa was playing on the tail end of a back-to-back, and Detroit was 7-2-1 against teams that were playing on the tail end of a back-to-back, and Detroit had the night off before. 7-2-1. You could be pissed off about the lack of power play. Detroit went 1 for 4 with the extra attacker. Ottawa has the third worst penalty kill in the National Hockey League. That's all fine. Be upset at that. I don't blame you. Me too. The thing you should be most upset about is the fact that Ottawa came into Little Caesars and out-hit Detroit 2-1. They were more physical. They were more desperate. They were hungrier, and they had a better jump to the game. And that should piss you off. Ottawa had 26 hits. Detroit had 13. Oh, woe is me. We're playing on the tail end of a back-to-back. No, that was not the Ottawa attitude. They felt like they had jump. They felt like they were the ones that were going to be reckoned with. And you know what? They were. So Dylan Larkin and other players, Mo Sider, they're two of their leaders, can tell us all they want about how upset the team is, how it frustrated the team is. But they sure didn't play like it last night. We said at the trade deadline what you wanted, or we asked what you wanted at the trade deadline. I said I wanted a right-handed shooting defenseman, and I wanted a player with edge. You got a right-handed shooting defenseman in Justin Falk. You got David Perron, who's a nice enough player, but not the edge that you would necessarily be looking for. When Steve Yzerman talks or shows us that this is a franchise unwilling to get rid of some of their high-end young players, my question has been, what are those young players doing that make them so valuable? Did anybody or has anybody, and I'm not saying necessarily give up on this guy. I'm not trying to convince you that this is the guy who isn't pulling his weight, okay? But he is a guy that we consider a younger player and a valuable player moving forward overall. Marco Kasper. Marco Kasper played 11 and a half minutes last night. He had one shot on net. And for the season, I don't know how many teams are knocking on Steve Yzerman's door and saying, I want that guy. But I can tell you this. For a young player who is supposed to be on the rise, playing 70 games, having 7 goals, and owning 16 points and a minus 13 is not valuable. I'm not suggesting give up on him. He's 21 years old. You know how I feel about that. However, if he is not pulling his proverbial weight, he's not giving you what you expected, because everybody was fired up over him after last year. Do you remember that? Sure you do, because you were probably one of them. Shep, this is a guy who scored 19 goals in 77 games. All right? So you're definitely protecting him, right? At age of 20, you saw that. Well, this has been a setback year for him without question. And again, I'll reiterate, I'm not trying to tell you that this is a guy you get rid of. He's played 1.5 less minutes per game this year than he did a year ago. Primary reason, he hasn't earned it. Case in point, last night, Detroit's down 2-0. He gets out of the zone. He's into the neutral zone. And Todd McClellan talked about this. Ottawa's got some inexperienced defensemen. Instead of moving forward, what does he do? Tosses the puck backwards into his zone. He's already out of the zone. Why would you get out of the zone only to drop the puck back into your zone? Turnover, goal, 3-0 Ottawa. Those are the frustrating moments. That's what should piss you off more than anything else. That's the reason, right or wrong, a lot of people look at what Steve Yzerman has done to hold on to some of the young players and say, you know what? I'll take the veteran guy who moves forward with the puck rather than the young guy who's constantly making really important errors. It's not just young guys either, but they have a tendency to do it more often. And that, with the lack of production from a guy like that, has to make you wonder a little bit. Where is this team headed? And if it's always about the young guys and protecting them, why aren't they up here contributing already? How do you not pull a guy up? It can't be because you want Grand Rapids to win a cup. It's supposed to be about your parent team. And this team is not showing it right now. Now, they got a bit of a break last night, quite honestly. Chicago beat the Islanders. Boston lost to Toronto. Flyers fell short to Columbus. Those are teams, Flyers are behind, but those are teams you want to monitor, all right, moving forward. Just giving you an idea. Speaking of hockey, by the way, in Edmonton's 5-2 win, Connor McDavid had 2 goals. So he now has over 1,200 career points. He did so in his 784th game, all right? That's the third fastest to 1,200 career points. Gretzky did it in 504. He did it in 280 fewer games. And Mario Lemieux did it in 593 games. That's still a hell of an accomplishment. Got a lot to get to, including a young guy making the Tigers and the Pistons moving forward. As good as they have been without Cade Cunningham, Doesn't seem like many people are believing. We'll get to all that and more coming up here on X's and Bros on a Wednesday morning, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Avelo Air knows how much you love the Tigers. They love them too. They want to help you get to spring training in Lakeland because it is an awesome time. They fly nonstop from Grand Rapids to Lakeland Thursdays and Sundays, and nonstop from Detroit to Lakeland Wednesdays and Saturdays. Everyday low fares and reliable service. You don't want to fly anywhere else. Book your trip to Lakeland on AveloAir.com and use the promo code HUGE for $20 off a round-trip base fare when you book by March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
The Michigan Sports Network is your exclusive home for X's and Bros with Matt Shepard and The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
Okay, back with you here on X's and Bros. Red Wings a loser last night, 3-2 to Ottawa. I think hopefully you know that by now. Maybe I shouldn't say hopefully. Unfortunately, you probably know that by now. That's really what we should be talking about. I don't know if you've heard from Todd McClellan. I mean, Todd McClellan had some very pointed words to say about his team. You can find that sound just about anywhere out there. People are playing it regularly, and it's good sound too. It's really good. It's food for thought. It's things that you're going to like, wow, why would this team? So, for example, he said afterwards, he was talking about Casper and the fact that they bring it back in their own zone and things of that nature. But he said mental, not so much structurally. It's just mental mistakes that go against the game plan a little bit. And he actually brought up a really good point about Dylan Larkin. Dylan Larkin coming back earlier than most people thought, scored one of the goals. McClellan said this, the Dylan thing actually, for as much as he means to the team and how hard he goes and us wanting and needing him back, that maybe even set us back a little bit tonight. It was great to have him back. Don't get me wrong. We need him. Okay? But there might be the mindset of we've got our leader back. We got our captain back. We can take a little bit of a breath. I'm not sure if that's really the case, but I think that could be part of it. How in the world does something like that happen? Like, he went on to say they're a little bit slower. We're a little bit sluggish for whatever reason. Everybody's unhappy with the result and some of the input into the result. We didn't perform well enough. How do you not know that? How do you not grasp that? How does this franchise, with its players and this Yzer plan that seems to be just blowing up in the face, again, I'll reiterate it, January 25, look at where they were. They had a 7-point cushion a month ago for the playoffs, just a month ago. They're in first place 2 months ago. They had a 7-point cushion for the playoffs a month ago. Now they got a 60% chance of missing the playoffs. Steve Yzerman told us a long time ago when he first took the job that this is a team that is this turnaround is going to be very difficult. It can be painstaking. Ken Holland said when he left, turnarounds, rebuilds in hockey are very difficult. I don't disagree with him. That's why I constantly said at the time, you know what? You get tired of making the playoffs and getting exits. You want to rebuild? Be careful what you wish for. We've been deep into this Yzer plan. And what's happened? Have you noticed? Or do we just follow the Red Wings? It's supposed to be hockey town. And I've said forever, it's Red Wings town. It's not hockey town. Go up and ask somebody about the National Hockey League and literally just ask them a quick question. Who leads the Atlantic? Name teams outside of Detroit in the Atlantic. Let's see how well they do. Buffalo, by the way, leads the Atlantic because Buffalo has been so damn good, all right? 44 wins, tied with Tampa, and Tampa's really good. 44 wins for Buffalo, second most, third most in the NHL. Colorado with the most, Carolina second most, and then it's Tampa and Buffalo. But I'm sure you've noticed, if you follow hockey, that Montreal has skated by Detroit during the Yzer plan. Ottawa seems to have caught Detroit and skated by the Wings during the Yzer plan. Buffalo has done the exact same thing. Meanwhile, the team that Steve Yzerman left, Tampa, continues to stay at that high level and keep winning. So could it really be all him? Could we really say Tampa was so successful because of Steve Yzerman even 8 years later? Are we going to still give him credit for all that? I mean, at some point, everybody, as much as you may love him, you ran Joe Dumars out of town, and he's a Hall of Fame Piston. You didn't like Alan Trammell as the manager, and he's a Hall of Fame Tiger. So what is it about Yzerman that everybody feels like, well, hands off? I'll tell you what it is. because most people don't follow hockey. Most people don't know the draft picks that he's had. Most people aren't aware of what's going on in the rest of the National Hockey League. You're following your team, and you're just guessing that, well, hey, this is a situation right now where this team is still learning, because all you hear about is young players, right? Yeah, that's what you hear about on a pretty regular basis, that this team is young. It's time for some people, more people, I should say, to get pissed off a little bit, because it's now coming and becoming a habit for this team. There's something in the DNA that gets you super fired up in October and November and December and January and February. And after 5 months, March comes around and everybody clenches their lips a little bit more. They walk more rigidly. Their shoulders start to sag. Their knees get weak. And you recognize it's fading time. You've heard the song Closing Time? Yeah. Well, for the Red Wings in March, it's fading time. And that's a problem, obviously. It is interesting how the Red Wings are viewed. I saw this the other day on a website about hockey, and they broke down the NHL franchises into 6 categories: world class, great franchise, solid organization, mixed bag, poverty franchise. The world class, as high as you can get, they put 4 franchises in that category: Boston, Montreal, Edmonton, and Detroit. That's how it's viewed. The great franchise: Chicago, Colorado, Pittsburgh, Islanders, Tampa, and New Jersey. The poverty franchise: Toronto, among them, Toronto, Minnesota, Ottawa, Vancouver, and Seattle too. And it's funny because having that, Minnesota right now is 3rd in the ever-challenging Central with 92 points and 40 wins. But it's not based on just this year. It's based on, hey, this is how this team is perceived for the historical significance of that franchise. Because you sure as hell wouldn't say that this year. Now, I don't believe it's always on the general manager. I don't believe it's always on the coach. At some point, players have to take ownership. And it's not that this team hasn't, but I think there's a lot of Red Wings fans, a lot of Detroit sports fans, a lot of Michigan sports fans that are tired of hearing, we had our opportunity. We didn't come out with enough fire. At what point, seriously, at what point are we going to recognize that this team just might not be talented enough? I thought they were good enough to make the playoffs. They still control, to a certain extent, their own fate. But damn, at home against a team that should be, quote unquote, tired, and you come out sluggish? Forget the shots on net for a minute. A team that had played less than 24 hours earlier, and they're the ones out hitting you? Makes no sense. Baseball discussion, some Lions discussion as well coming up. It's a quick first half hour here on X's and Bros. We're glad you're with us on a Wednesday, brought to you by Mitchell Lions Wealth.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Back with you on X's and Bros. We've talked the first half hour about the Red Wings. I don't know how passionate people are throughout the state for the Red Wings. I know they're excited about Kevin McGonigal, and we are too. We'll get to that. I know that the Lions always move your needle. The Pistons play tonight, so that's cool. Looking forward to watching them play Atlanta, and Atlanta's played much better. I thought when they traded Trae Young, they were like waving that white flag. Instead, they've played much better. McGonigal's going to make his major league debut this weekend. He's made the major league roster. 21-year-old is considered the second best prospect in all of baseball. Tigers have never had anybody like that, flat out. I mean, Riley Green, Justin Verlander, Jace Young, doesn't matter. Never had a prospect rated that highly. And that's not counting, guys like Al Kaline, who went from high school to pro. He went from high school to Major League Baseball. So I don't know if you want to consider that a prospect or not. I don't know if that's necessarily fair. But McGonigal, within a minor league system, is the highest the Tigers have ever had in the history of their franchise. Hit 250 this spring. More walks than strikeouts. Led the team in walks, honestly. Played solid defense. 10 games at short, 7 games at third. Never looked uncomfortable. Seemed to almost welcome the big moments, which is great. Since 2020, he leads all of minor league baseball in weighted runs created and walk to strikeout ratio. That's super impressive. There's always pressure on guys, right? I wonder if there's more pressure on Kevin McGonigal as the highest rated prospect the Tigers have ever had, as there is on Casey Mize as a 1-1, Spencer Torkelson is a 1-1. I'm not sure. I just know that Tigers fans, I don't even know how realistic their expectations are, but Tigers fans are super pumped for it. And I don't blame them, because who's the last great shortstop they've actually nurtured? Travis Fryman? And I wouldn't call him great by any stretch. But he was a good player. It's not Alan Trammell. Travis Fryman's a good player. Let's see what happens. And let's see where he plays. My expectation is he's going to bat lower part of the lineup, 8th or 9th. Okay. With him making the team, Wenzel Perez is sent down to Toledo. I had a bunch of friends, a group, say, I'm ruined right now. I can't believe that. It's like, hold on a second, dude. I mean, just chill out. Dude batted 175 in the spring. You're going to rip on Parker Meadows because he had a bad batting average in the spring. I got news for you. Wenzel Perez was worse in the spring. Now, at the major league level, it's different, right? At least Meadows was trending up the way he was playing in spring. It's not like he hasn't had moments at the major league level. He has. Game-winning homer against Houston a few years back. He's an excellent defender. He gives this team something it doesn't have a lot of, and that's speed. Who's going to swipe you bases? And speed is not always about stealing bases, by the way. Speed is first to third on a single to right. There aren't enough guys on this team who can do that. Javier Baez, yeah, a little bit. Gleyber Torres, yeah, a little bit. Zach McKinstry, a little bit. Matt Vierling, a little bit. Parker Meadows, yeah, absolutely, 100% on a regular basis. Pistons, as I mentioned, playing Atlanta. They're fresh off the win over L.A. Everybody yesterday, it was more about what the Lakers did wrong compared to what the Pistons did right. I don't know if you noticed that in the national scope, but that's what everybody was talking about, because God forbid you jump on board with the Pistons. And I saw more national people last night, just they are non-believers. Knicks beat Toronto. They've won 7 straight, 48 overall. Raise that flag, baby. Woo! This is awesome. Their coach, hey, Mike's going to catch Pat Riley for most wins by a Knicks head coach in their first season. Pat Riley, 51. Okay? They currently have 48 wins. Cavs beat the Magic. Cleveland's 14-4 with James Harden. Ooh, this is a threat in the East. Okay? What about the Pistons? Nah, they don't have Cade, so I don't know if they can do that. By the way, they're 4-0 since Cade went down. Yeah, but I just long term they're 8-2 when Cade doesn't play this year. Yeah, still I don't see how they could beat Boston. I don't see how they could beat New York. New York's goal should be the NBA Finals, but okay, they're catching fire. They're going to use an excuse like, well, New York has beaten Boston before in the playoffs. That's another reason. But if I say the Pistons have blown out the Knicks 3 times this year, it doesn't matter. It's the regular season. When does the regular season matter? Would be the follow-up question. Just out of curiosity. If you're not going to take it to heart because it gives an advantage to the Pistons, when does the regular season matter? Because Victor Wembanyama the other day said, well, the reason I'm an MVP, pat myself on the back, is my defense, my offense, and the fact that we are a team that, beat up Oklahoma City a couple of times this year. And everybody's like, yeah, I see what you're saying there. So it's okay if Wembanyama uses it as validation for his team. But when people defend the Pistons and their regular season dominance over the Knicks, it doesn't work because it's the regular season. I got it. I just wanted to make sure we've got the level playing field here from a national perspective. And that's what it is, from a national perspective. Look at what San Antonio has done. Why can they win the West? Look at what they did against OKC. Oh, okay. Well, why don't we use that, flip it around and use it for the Pistons? Well, because the regular season doesn't matter. Well, you just told me it did. Yeah, but it's San Antonio. Wait, Wembanyama hasn't played in the playoffs? What are you talking about? So there's never any pushback. Never. It's always which team and which player, more specifically. Wembanyama he's an unreal player. He's going to be an MVP candidate for a long time. There's no question about that. I think he's a phenomenal talent. Would love to have him on my team. And I love, actually, the other day that he said part of the reason he's an MVP candidate is because of his defense. Maybe that makes people recognize the defensive side of the floor a little bit better and a little bit more. And if that's what it takes, good for him. No problem with it. All right. I would say, Cade Cunningham should be in the MVP conversation for a long time moving forward too. But it's more about Victor Wembanyama because he's a freak. It's 7'4" and difference maker on both ends of the floor. Cade Cunningham's a better defensive player than he gets credit for, but he's not like that. Okay. He's not the elite talent that Victor Wembanyama will be. Victor Wembanyama will win Defensive Player of the Year. I know that's going to piss a lot of Pistons fans off because you think Asar Thompson and Isaiah Stewart is going to win it, but Victor Wembanyama is going to win it. I just get a little tired of the narrative that the national media, and that's why you got to be careful, okay? Maybe it's the same with the local media sticking up for their guys. But from a national perspective, they pick a guy or they pick a team or a couple of them, and they stay true to that. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, again, great player, but how many times are you going to show how he's embellishing calls? Very rarely. The Lakers and Luka Doncic, how much of the whining that he does. And he's a whiner, man. He's a great offensive player, but he's an incredible whiner. Do we hear about that? Nope. Those reports from LA, it is one big stroke job. Hey, this is how great Luka Doncic is. LeBron James, he's accepting a role. Well, no kidding. I mean, he can go on a podcast and call Austin Reeves a white boy, and it's not a big deal. And that's fine. That's acceptable. Nothing gets said about LeBron James with that. Anything said about him giving up and allowing a team to go 5-on-3, like in hockey, for crying out. Nope, nothing. But we'll see all those highlights, right? When it comes to the Pistons, what are we seeing? Nothing but concern because Cade Cunningham is out. How about how well they've played? How about how good they are collectively? How about they are the true definition of a team? When we refer to the consistent belief in the NBA that you've got to have superstars to win. And everybody says that, including yours truly. What is it that makes us feel that is the key? Historically, right? Michael Jordan was a star. Isaiah Thomas was a star. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Steph Curry, on and on and on, right? We could use stars. You got to have stars. The Pistons are the opposite of that. Not that they don't have stars, because Cade Cunningham is. Jalen Duren is creating himself to be one, for sure. But they're not rolling off the tongue of every other sports talk show throughout the country. When people are talking about stardom, rarely are they bringing up Jalen Duren. They're bringing up other names than that, okay? I hope they bring up Cade Cunningham. But they feel like everybody else has multiple stars. Detroit is the ultimate team. There's a pretty good question sometimes when you ask people, who's the last team to win an NBA title that didn't have a star or superstars on their team? Generally, people have said the Supersonics of Dennis Johnson and Gus Williams, or Maurice Lucas and Jack Sikma, way back in the day, coached by Lenny Wilkens. I think that was 79, okay? Because prior to that, when Portland won, I think it's 77, Bill Walton was a star, right? But that's what it does. And then suddenly things changed. Magic Johnson and James Worthy and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with the Lakers of 1980, right? Julius Erving and Moses Malone with the Sixers, Larry Bird and the Celtics, and Isaiah, and then Michael Jordan. You know, we've said all that. Tim Duncan and the Spurs felt they had a three-headed monster. Even Houston with Akeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler, right? All those are stars. Those are Hall of Fame players. Pistons in 04 probably comes to mind. People who disagree with that would turn around and say, well, wait a minute, Chauncey Billups and Richard Hamilton. And yeah, but that was after they won. They started to get the recognition after they won. Everybody else had the recognition while they were winning or prior to them winning. This team, and maybe it's just a Detroit thing, this team is that. This team is the one that says, you know what? We are the ultimate team. J.B. Bickerstaff had a great quote yesterday. Well, 2 days ago, after the victory over the Lakers. We are the consummate team. We are the epitome. We're the definition of team. You would think more people would gravitate toward that. He didn't say that. That's me. But they don't for some reason or another. Here's the Mitch Lanswell poll question. What are your expectations for the Tigers? Are they going to win the division? Are they going to win the American League? Are they going to win the World Series, or are they going to miss the playoffs? Your expectations. You can vote as often as you want at XB Mornings. I'll retweet it, and we'll give you the results tomorrow in the 8 o'clock hour. Okay? So there's the story, the biggest story, and I know I've talked a lot about the Red Wings so far, but it's super frustrating for me. The biggest story in this city right now is not, I don't think it's the Pistons winning 52 games or the Red Wings falling apart in March. I think Kevin McGonigal making the Tigers opening day roster is the biggest story. And I think it's the biggest story because he's a 21-year-old who is uber talented in so many ways. And he, based on his track record, okay, based on what he has done so far, and I know it's just the minors, and I know it has to be taken with a grain of salt. I don't want to get too carried away. It's not right. Shouldn't do that. But he is giving you something that you haven't had in a while. How's that? So I think that's what the biggest story is. And that's what we're going to talk about when we come back. I just want to remind you to wrap up the Red Wings conversation. Steve Yzerman has had 66 draft picks as tenure of the Detroit Red Wings. His first pick was Mo Seider. Okay? When he took over in 2019, his first pick was Mo Seider. He's got two guys from that entire draft class who have actually 3 with Elmer Soderblom and no longer on the team, but who have actually played. Seider, Albert Johansson. And I know it's a crapshoot in hockey. It's really hard. All right. But of his 66 overall picks, 10 of those picks have significant playing time in the National Hockey League. How much of is that a good ratio? Do you consider that a good ratio? It's Seider and Johansson and Soderblom in his first draft class. His second draft class, it's Lucas Raymond and it's Donovan Sobrano. Have you ever heard of him? Me either. Exactly right. The following draft class, it's Simon Edvinsson. Because Sebastian Kosa, who was a first-round pick, 15th overall, has only been up for, has only really played in one game. Carter Mazur has only played in one game. When is Carter Mazur going to turn the corner? Right? So only one guy from that draft class. Only one guy in the Marco Kasper draft class. Hardly any from 2023. Brandsdaq Nygaard from 2024, only 12 games played. If this were Brad Holmes, and I know it's completely different because they play college and then they come to the NFL. But if Brad Holmes, we rip on Brad Holmes for last year's draft class or 2 years ago. Steve Yzerman's draft class in 2019 has produced 2 guys. 2. The difference is we don't pay attention to minor league hockey. We rarely pay attention to minor league baseball that kicks off with the Yankees and the Giants today. So it's very frustrating from my standpoint for that very reason, is that we move that bar or move that needle all over the place when it comes to general managers. We'll get to some of your texts, Sports Radio 21,000. We'll get to your phone calls. We want some feedback here on the chat via YouTube, via Facebook, and via Twitter. This is X's and Bros throughout the great state of Michigan, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9, and we're brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community. Just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements, this center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact that Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 sportsbook for live betting, and it's built for March. DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering the most generous rewards in the market. This isn't a tournament you bet and forget. It's one you react to. With DraftKings, the #1 sportsbook for live betting, you're not betting what might happen. You're betting what's happening. Possession by possession, play by play, live lines, props, next play outcomes. As this March Madness chaos unfolds, the bracket will break. So don't just watch the unexpected. Why don't you bet on it? New to DraftKings, bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Here's what you do. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code HUGE. That code is HUGE. Turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets instantly in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 years or older, Michigan only. Eligibility restrictions do apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.com/audio. This is a limited time offer.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan. Now, they continue to grow. They got their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are worldwide. They are the leaders when it comes to accounting, CPA, and business needs. Simple and easy. Just Google Dorn Mayhew. And also, Josh Garvey joins me every Tuesday as we talk hoops with former Michigan and Cleveland Cavaliers head coach John Beilein. Tuesdays, 5 p.m., Josh Garvey, Coach Beilein, and myself, we talk Michigan, Michigan State, and the Pistons. Talking hoops happens all the way through the NBA Finals. And could you imagine if the Pistons are in the NBA Finals? If you ever have a hoops question for us, you can drop it at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook, and Talking Hoops every Tuesday at 5 p.m., presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew.
Farrah's Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
The Michigan Sports Network is your exclusive home for X's and Bros with Matt Shepard and The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
Second hour of the program, 7 o'clock here on X's and Bros. Thanks for being with us. Always appreciate the time. We know you got a lot of different choices throughout the state of Michigan. I respect that. So to give us a little bit of your time here on a Wednesday morning is very, very meaningful. We're brought to you this hour by Meyer. Freddie, as always, sends us his text, and we greatly appreciate it. He said Hughes, as in Quinn Hughes, would have been a good start for this team. This team needs stars, not just good players. Next year, you go get scoring, and now you got something with young goalies coming soon as well. Don't disagree with that. I think John Gibson's been really good, save for recently the third goal against Boston. Didn't like that. But overall, he's been arguably this team's best player. Sebastian Kosa should have been here this year based on his performance in Grand Rapids. You would expect him to be one of the goalies next year. You would expect. And then he's referring to Trey Augustine, who has Michigan State as a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament and is a 3-time semifinalist for the Richter Award given to college hockey's best goalie. So then he'll be in the system. So that's great. Quinn Hughes would have cost a lot, but he's the second best defenseman, arguably the best defenseman in the world behind Cale Makar. Now, the other thing, though, and I said this at the time, and I think I stand by it. If he's not going to sign an extension, you're going to draft or you're going to trade for him. You're going to give up a lot of prospects, a lot of capital for him. And I'm okay with that. But I want him on the dotted line for more than just next year. And Quinn Hughes wouldn't do that. That to me was a red flag. So going out and getting, not that Justin Falk is Quinn Hughes, he's not. Does not pilot the power play like Quinn Hughes, does not create the way Quinn Hughes does, does not skate, does not handle, none of that. But it was not, it's a really good pickup. I'm more concerned about what you said here for the offseason, and that is getting some goal scoring. That's what it needs. So I'm with you on that. Shep, this town, Torque and Green and Mize and Duran, etc., they get ripped in this town. But over a year now, it baffles me again how this team gives Lucas Raymond a pass. Well, I will go back to this. I don't know how many people truly follow hockey. I don't. Lucas Raymond is second on the team in points. He's got 69. That's great that he's second on the team. Do you know where the 69 points, if we're talking about complete players, we're talking about overall, we're talking about points and gathering those and making sure you on a nightly basis are a threat. Lucas Raymond is tied for 28th in all of hockey. 28th. What you're looking for is something Alex DeBrincat has given you in terms of goal scoring. He's got 35 goals on the year to lead the Red Wings. Raymond is not that type of player. He's more of a player who is getting everybody involved and gathering his points that way. Most people would tell you that. He's 22nd in the league in assists. For a first-line guy, should you be there? I always thought Lucas Raymond would be it's probably unfair, but a David Pastrnak type of player. David Pastrnak has 28 goals this year. He's got close to 90 points already. Now, he's also a guy who has been a 40 and 50 and 40 and 40 goal scorer. Raymond is probably not that equipped to score that many goals. I think he needs more than 22. I think he needs to be more of an offensive threat because he's not right now. What's the most goals that Lucas Raymond has ever scored in a season? 31. A couple years ago. He needs to be, he's on track for like 25, 26 this year, I think. He needs to be a 30-plus goal scorer. Just like Dylan Larkin needs to be a 30-plus goal scorer. And unfortunately, Alex DeBrincat needs to be like a 40-goal scorer. You need more offense from this team. Either that or you're counting on a lot of young guys becoming better quickly, and that has not happened yet. Shep, remember all the people who wanted Wyatt Langford? I'm one of them. Loved to watch him at Florida. Yes, I was a geek back then watching college baseball. Loved watching him. Thought he would have been the right guy. Scott Harrison Company drafted Max Clark out of high school in Indiana. That allowed them to get Kevin McGonigal as a sandwich pick and pay him above the usual price. Otherwise, he was headed elsewhere. Otherwise, Kevin McGonigal was going to go play college baseball. Period. So that's a really good point. I think Wyatt Langford's going to be an all-star in Major League Baseball. I'm not sure how much or when that window opens for Max Clark. I think he'll be with the big league team in June, mid-June, if he does what he's supposed to do at the AAA level. That's just my personal feeling. I think Max Clark's going to be a really good player. I think there's a lot of issues right now that people have with Max Clark, and a lot of it has to do with how he's handled certain situations. I don't think that's who he is. Okay. I think he's a better person than that, but it did allow Detroit to get McGonigal. Otherwise he was going to Casey Mize's alma mater. He was going to Auburn. All right. Shep, this team is staring at McGonigal and Rayner for 12 plus years on the left side. I hope so. That'd be fantastic. Everyday players, pencil them in and don't worry about it. I'm not going to put that cart before the horse. There's young guys in the past you thought were going to be very impactful, and they haven't been. I'm going to wait. I know that's hard, but I'm going to wait to see what players do first. Bryce Rayner, as highly touted as he may be, we haven't seen him at all. We've heard about him, but we haven't seen him. And because of that, let's not get too twisted about it. Seriously, let's be careful. And let's not put so much pressure. I mean, we're bound to, I suppose. But let's not put so much pressure on Kevin McGonigal where anything he does short of being an all-star is a disappointment. Rayner, a former first-round pick. McGonigal, a second-round pick. I would just remind people, when it comes to a guy like Bryce Rayner, take a look at some of his spring or his minor league numbers and try to keep those in context and try to understand a little bit. All right. He's a really young kid who hit 288 in Lakeland last year. I don't know how it's going to translate because there's been plenty of guys who've had great success at the minor league level and it hasn't translated. But if he reaches his potential, that is a possibility. Shep, I'll always wonder why Steve didn't hire Gerard Gallant after Blashill and Lalonde. Well, Blashill he inherited, okay, and actually kept him on. Lalonde, obviously, he was familiar with in Tampa. I like Todd McClellan. I think it's a good hire. So you can wonder about Gerard Gallant. I like McClellan. I think he's done as good a job as you can with this team, although it is very frustrating and makes you second guess a little bit when a team has such a big game like last night, gets such a key player like Dylan Larkin back last night, and has taken out a team last night that was on the tail end of a back-to-back, and they come out, in his words, sluggish. It's fair. I'm going to get to some of these in the chat here on YouTube. I greatly thank you for giving me some time here on a Wednesday morning. Want your voice to be heard, and we'll do that. Brought to you by Meyer when we come back on X's and Bros.
Huge here for Avello Airlines. Did you know you now can fly nonstop from Detroit and Grand Rapids to Lakeland, Florida, home of the Tigers spring training complex? You can fly nonstop from Detroit to Lakeland on Wednesday and Saturdays, or from Grand Rapids to Lakeland on Thursdays and Sundays. You'll land just 20 minutes away from the ballpark. Lakeland Linder Airport is a smaller, convenient airport with on-site car rentals and only 280 feet from the plane to the parking lot. Everyday low fares happening right now, and reliable service with Avello Air. You can book your tickets now at AvelloAir.com. That's AVELO Air.com. Use promo code HUGE for $20 off your round trip base fare ticket when you book by March 31st. Restrictions apply. Discount applies to round trip base fare tickets only, valid for travel through August 31st, 2026. Must be purchased by 11:59 p.m. on March 31st, 2026. See AvelloAir.com for details. Contract of carriage for full details.
Farrah's Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at FreddieThePizzaMan.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit FreddieThePizzaMan.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
18 after the hour. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. Also streaming live on YouTube, on X, and on Facebook as well. In case you missed it, Red Wings lose 3-2 to Ottawa last night. Since the Olympic break, the Red Wings are 5-6-2. They have a 2.53 goals per game average. That is 27th in the NHL. They've got one win against what would be considered a playoff team right now, Montreal. They've lost a playoff spot. And I want to remind people, when we talk about age, I guess when people talk about windows, all right, which is I'm not a huge fan of. People talk about windows. I want you to keep this in mind. Mo Seider's 25, so a year from now, he's obviously going to be 26. DeBrincat's going to be 29 next year. Larkin's going to be 30 next year. Kopp is going to be 32. Gibson's going to be 33. Patrick Kane is, he's approaching 40. He's going to be 38 years old. At what point do we go, okay, enough is enough? Can we start to get some, that's why I brought up the draft picks earlier, in case you missed it. Steve Yzerman, 66 draft picks, 10 have contributions in the NHL, serious contributions to the NHL. When are we going to stop waiting? I mean, those are the questions that need to be asked. Okay? Where is, I'll use the cliche, where's the sense of urgency? Because I'm not seeing it. Maybe you are, but I'd like to know the examples of it. Let me get to some things here in the chat on YouTube. Follow us at XB Mornings. I appreciate it very much. Joe Gersma, great points on how the national media treats the Pistons. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Have a great day. Joe's a big Purdue guy, so he's rooting for the Boilers, and rightfully so. Love what Matt Painter said, by the way. I don't know if you saw this. Miami was bitching and moaning that nobody wants to play them. And Matt Painter said, hold on a second now. Don't throw us into that. We've played MAC teams. We've played mid-major teams. You've got to look at more than just, I've got to give back to mid-majors. It's got to help your team build a resume for NCAA tournament worthy. So we have played. Remember, who has been really good in the Mid-American Conference? He's trying to remind us because we don't follow the Mid-American Conference very closely. Maybe they do in Mount Pleasant. Maybe they're doing that in Akron, Ohio, because Akron was a team that had a really good chance at, making the play and the postseason, and they did, but they didn't go very far, not as far as I thought they would. But Purdue, what did they do? They played Oakland. They played Akron. They've played teams outside. They played Kent State. How many MAC teams do you have to play is what some coaches are asking of the Miami belief. Athletic director, head coach, how many is enough? And I'm a MAC guy, you know that. But how many do you have to play for someone to say, okay, I get it? I completely understand, because people have ripped on Miami's resume, and rightfully so. They haven't played anybody, but they're trying to say it's not on us, it's on everybody else. And it's not just Purdue, by the way. Michigan State gets a lot of credit for playing the Louisvilles and the Arkansas and the Kentuckys and all. They also played Detroit Mercy. They also played Oakland. They also played Toledo. That's giving back, folks. That's 3 mid-majors right there. Oh, by the way, they played East Carolina. How many times should coaches are in a no-win situation? Matt Painter, Tom Izzo, Dusty May, doesn't matter. They're in a no-win situation. If they schedule the mid-majors, people complain that their schedule is soft. Everybody wants them to play top 25 teams. If they don't schedule the mid-majors are saying, you're afraid of us. There has to be a balance there. Purdue has the balance. Michigan State has the balance. Michigan has a balance. They're doing it the right way. I'm sure there's a lot of teams like Miami, like Kent, like Akron, who want to play Toledo, which has been very good in the Mid-American Conference over the years. They want to play all those Big Ten teams. I understand why they would. They want the payday. The Big Ten teams can only, or the Power 4 or 5 conferences, can only take so many. So it's a good point, Joe. Thank you for watching. Red Wings have to be the softest team in the NHL. Second March in a row. It's really the third, Noah. Third, but thank you. That they're completely collapsing. They don't have the right pieces, and they refuse to call anybody up from Grand Rapids. Right. But here's the problem, Noah. When they do call players up from Grand Rapids, they don't necessarily perform. Dominic Shine scored his third goal of the year last night. But there's a reason certain guys have been sent down, right? There's a reason guys are not having success, and then you can't take it anymore. Brenzig Nygaard, sent down. Where's Carter Mazer? Where are the guys who are excelling in Grand Rapids? How come they can't make it at the highest level? Shep, I guess you might say we don't have the same amount of calling in Grand Rapids as we have on the team right now. But at least the guys have shots. They surprise too. Okay. Not sure where we're going with that. Shep, what is the stream? I want to know. The stream is at XB Mornings. Or if you type in X's and Bros on YouTube, we welcome that. Shep, I don't care what the excuse is. You get your star player back and you're playing undermanned Ottawa team and you lose, ? Players need to be held accountable. And maybe some players should get a shot. Again, from Noah. Thank you, Noah. You're right about that. There is no excuse. I'm not making excuses. I don't think Todd McClellan's making excuses. Here's the question you would have to ask yourself, okay? If you're going to give a player a shot, in other words, you want to mix some things up, fair enough. You don't like the way this team is trending. I can't say that I do either. There are certain guys you know damn well that you're not going to mess around with. I mean, Alex DeBrincat's not going anywhere, and he's a performer, right? So if that's the case, let me ask you this. Who's the player you want to be brought up, and who's the player you don't want around any longer? I think that's fair to ask. And if you're looking at Grand Rapids, and they have had an incredible season, right? But if you're looking at Grand Rapids and you're asking, I want this guy up here, who is that guy? Because when they seem to come up here, Michael Brenzig Nygaard was just sent down, okay? If you want Nate Danielson, where is the performance? Where is it? When they come up here, maybe you feel like they're not given as much of a chance as they deserve. But you go up there, you're supposed to make an impact. So John Leonard came up. Where was that impact? Dominic Shine comes up. 3 goals, is that enough for you? It's not bad. Nygaard was just sent down again. And he's what, 3rd on the team in points in Grand Rapids? I don't know, man. I mean, that's a tough answer on a tough question. You're tired of seeing certain guys because they're kind of holding your team down. They are not performing at the level you expect. I get that. All right. Nate Danielson was called up for 28 games? He had 2 goals. Where's the impact? And before you say, well, he didn't get a lot of playing time, he's averaging 11 minutes a game. You got to earn the playing time. Whose place is he going to take? Is he going to take Andrew Kopp's? He's not taking Dylan Larkins, right? You're going to put him in there instead of Mason Appleton, who plays a certain role, doesn't score a lot, but plays a certain role. He's supposed to be heavy on the puck. Started that way, has not necessarily been lately. That's the fine line that you have. Those guys who are tearing it up in the minors have to come up and continue that at the highest level. And that's a hard thing to do. I understand that. But thanks for the comments. It's really good. And it makes you think. Quick timeout. We're brought to you by Meijer. We're back after this.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLionsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Huge here for Avello Airlines. Did you know you now can fly nonstop from Detroit and Grand Rapids to Lakeland, Florida, home of the Tigers spring training complex? You can fly nonstop from Detroit to Lakeland on Wednesday and Saturdays, or from Grand Rapids to Lakeland on Thursdays and Sundays. You'll land just 20 minutes away from the ballpark. Lakeland Linder Airport is a smaller, convenient airport with on-site car rentals and only 280 feet from the plane to the parking lot. Everyday low fares happening right now, and reliable service with Avello Air. You can book your tickets now at AvelloAir.com. That's AVELO Air.com. Use promo code HUGE for $20 off your round trip base fare ticket when you book by March 31st. Restrictions apply. Discount applies to round trip base fare tickets only, valid for travel through August 31st, 2026. Must be purchased by 11:59 p.m. on March 31st, 2026. See AvelloAir.com for details. Contract of carriage for full details.
The Michigan Sports Network is your exclusive home for X's and Bros with Matt Shepard and The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
35 after the hour. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. Love the engagement. Thank you. Fantastic stuff. MLB preseason rankings. Whether Kevin McGonigal was on the team or not, and he makes a difference. Here's what you're going to get from this 21-year-old shortstop / third baseman. You are going to get a keen eye at the plate. He will not leave the zone very often. Every hitter leaves the zone, all right? He's going to get fooled a little bit. Who wouldn't? I mean, come on. He's going from double-A pitching to major league pitching. So when he steps in against Shohei Ohtani, I mean, it's going to be sometimes a little overwhelming, all right? So I get that. I would hearken back to Luis Severino and, when the Tigers played the Dominican Republic and kind of a tune-up for the World Baseball Classic, and on the first pitch, he went yard. I don't think you're going to see a lot of power from him, not to start. What do we always say? Power comes last, all right? It's one of those things that I understand it. I hope you do by now as well, and that's okay. You're going to get a guy who knows the strike zone and a guy who swings at the right pitches for the most part, okay? And a guy who is going to walk, which is something Detroit did not do much of at all. But if you think this guy's going to start tearing up the league in terms of power, I think you're going to be mistaken. Last year, in 3 different levels of minor league baseball, Erie, West Michigan, and Lakeland, he had 19 homers. If he had 19 homers in the majors, you and I would be ecstatic. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Bryce Harper hit 22 his first year in the major leagues, I think. So I don't expect a lot of power from Kevin McGonigal, but I do expect a guy who's going to work counts, so forcing pitchers to go deeper into a pitching repertoire. He's going to get on base, and I think he's going to make contact more than anything else. He's going to put the ball in play. Is he going to have strikeouts? You're damn right. Okay. But I mean, he's 21 years old, for crying out loud. But he is going to, I believe, he's going to be one of those guys who puts the ball in play, thus putting pressure on the defense. And I know that doesn't seem like much, or like you're really putting pressure on the defense with a ground ball to second. You're forcing a guy to make a play. It's better than a strikeout. If you and I both agree that Riley Green said the wrong thing a year ago when asked about his strikeouts, and his response was, nobody cares. You were upset about that for a lot of different reasons, but one of the reasons is because it's considered an easy out. It's a wasted at bat. I push back on that just a little bit because you are forcing a pitcher, unless it's 3 pitches, you're forcing a pitcher to go deeper into an account. The reason Tarek Skubal doesn't go complete games, only has 1 in his career, is because his strikeout pitcher, and it requires usually more pitches to strike a guy out. Thus, you're going deeper with your pitch count in a game, right? Makes a lot of sense, I think. So I think Kevin McGonigal will do that. If you believe that, the strikeouts don't matter, and you think putting pressure on a defense is a ground ball to second base, it is, because you are forcing them to make a play. You are not as easy an out as a strikeout would be. Now, some of it's routine. High chopper to short. On the charge comes Seager, and that's routine. Sure. Still got to plant. Still got to make the throw. Still got to catch the ball. It's better than a strikeout. So I'm not going to predict any type of average by Kevin McGonigal. I just think that's the type of player you're going to get. I will say this. I am surprised, mildly, that he has been as effective as he's been at shortstop. When I was calling Tigers baseball, the belief was he was more in the mold of a second baseman, not because Chase Utley's his favorite player, but just because that was his range and that was his arm. I mean, you've got to have a really strong arm at shortstop because a lot of times you're making plays in the hole. See Bobby Witt Jr., see Derek Jeter in the past, all right? You're making those types of plays, you got to have a strong arm. So I'm a little surprised at that. But if that's the case, and let's face it, we all know this, the hardest or the most challenging position for the Tigers to fill over the recent years has been shortstop. That's why they had to go out and get a guy like Javier Baez. They didn't have that position within their farm system. Kevin McGonigal now hopefully takes that place. And I would love, as Freddie had mentioned earlier in a text to us, he goes there, he stays there for an extended period of time. That'd be great. I think so. That's what you're going to get. And I think that helps stabilize the defense a little bit. Really important with guys like Framber Valdez, who as I've talked about, has that ground ball pitcher mentality. Really important for a guy like Casey Mize because he throws the splitter. It's down, right? So when it's down, guys are beating it into the ground. Maybe it's a little different these days because so many guys have uppercut swings because they're trying to get loft on the ball. But that's what you're getting. All right. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for Tigers fans. Super excited for Tigers fans. Because as a guy who is, the 37th overall pick, I believe, he's only 5'9". And that's an important number to remember because of the ABS, the automated balls and strike system. It goes by the measuring of the hitter. So 5'9", where that ball is going to cross the plate, everything else like that. I'm sure you know that. But pretty cool that second prep player from that draft class, only Bryce Eldridge, Giants first baseman, right? And yet, over the minor leagues, rookie, single A, high A, double A, McGonigal at 308. There have been almost 1,800 minor leaguers with at least 800 plate appearances this decade. Of those 1,800, McGonigal leads the entire group in walk to strikeout ratio and weighted runs created plus. Pretty damn good. Okay? He's a guy who so many people are already saying, and I think it's cool that they're saying this about a Tiger. I also think it can be very, very difficult because it sets a certain expectation. And I get the cliche that baseball's the hardest sport, and it is. Because 60 feet, 6 inches to home plate. No. It's less than that. By the time the pitcher delivers, and I don't, depends on how big the pitcher is. Logan Gilbert, for example, it's more like 54 feet, not 60.6. By the time he delivers the pitch, it's more like 54, 55 feet. The milliseconds you have to judge on whether or not it's going to be a strike, identify the pitch, and then square the ball up is simply unreal. Please understand that there are going to be growing pains for this young man. Even though it makes it look easy and television doesn't do it justice. And even though he will be in this type of company, because if you date back to 2010, only 3 minor league players better in a weighted runs created plus over the same sample size are Chris Bryant, Brandon Belt, Julio Rodriguez. Those are the only 3. Even Vladimir Guerrero Jr. finished behind McGonigal in weighted runs created plus. McGonigal's was 163. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. as a minor leaguer was 160 in that number of plate appearances. All right? So I want you to keep that in mind as you move forward. That is a really difficult thing to uphold. So the expectations for Tiger fans is going to be all over the place in helping him or hoping him be the savior of this franchise. The difference between last year and this year. It's a hell of a lot of pressure for a 21-year-old. Other guys have to do their part. Have some expectations for him. Okay? Hope that, yes, he's going to be an everyday player. If he's an everyday player, that means he's doing what he's expected to do. He's getting the bat on the ball. He's walking. He's getting on base. He's making smart plays offensively on the base paths. And he turns on one once in a while, and he plays solid defense. All right? Accurate throws, good footwork, going to the right base, thinking the game. If he's an everyday player, you guys, you don't have to worry about the stats. If you're good enough to play every day in the major leagues, you're a major leaguer. So I'm fine with that. Phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. That's 838-4843. Preseason rankings. This might tell you something about where the Tigers are, okay, or where people expect them to be. Read The Athletic the other day. And here's what they have. They rank the teams. This is preseason, of course, because the season starts tonight. And then they have playoff odds. So the Dodgers, who basically have an all-star team, up and down, 99% playoff odds. They are the number one team. That's not a surprise. It shouldn't be. If it's a surprise to you, you haven't followed baseball very closely. Okay? You've got Kyle Tucker in right. You've got Freddie Freeman at first. You've got Mookie Betts at short. You've got Will Smith behind the dish. You've got Shohei Ohtani who can do whatever the hell he wants. Max Muncy's got good power at third base. Okay? Let's just take it for what it is. They bring in Edwin Diaz as a closer. I mean, come on. Blake Snell's on the bump, all this other stuff. Although he's headed for the injured list. But you get my point. They deserve to be number one. Number two they have is the Yankees. A little surprising. Are they going to be healthy? Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, all right? They're expecting a lot of their young pitcher, Cam Schlittler. They got their Yankees at a 70%, all right? Seattle is tied with them. They're at a playoff average of 81%. It's a good baseball team. Love their starting pitching. I'm surprised I haven't read Toronto yet. They got the Cubs fourth with the playoff odds at 62. Then the Mets, playoff odds at 80%. Then we've heard that before, right? What a joke. Phillies, sixth at 73%. Toronto, seventh at 59.5%. Are you starting to wonder a little bit? Are you starting to go, wait a minute, the Yankees, the Mariners, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, who they rank eighth at 60%? Again, this isn't the gospel. I'm just giving you their opinion. The Atlanta Braves at 9 at 79%. The Brewers at 10. The Tigers at 11. Playoff odds, 74%. Here's what they write. A 15-inning thriller away from their first ALCS appearance since 2013. Tigers entered 2026 with one goal. Maximize the final year of Tarek Schoolwood before the reigning Cy Young Award winner heads to free agency. To do that, they signed Framber Valdez to join him at the top of the rotation, re-signed Gleyber Torres and Kyle Finnegan, reunited with Justin Verlander, and added Kenley Jansen and Drew Anderson, who, by the way, I wasn't thrilled with, but has had a great spring. Having Kevin McGonigal and Max Clark, two of MLB's top 10 prospects in reserve, is really just a cherry on top. Obviously, McGonigal made it. Max Clark will start the year in AAA. I expect him to be part of the Major League team at some point this summer. Behind the Tigers, they have the Baltimore Orioles, who I think are good because Taylor Ward being added, Pete Alonso being added, Chris Bassett being added, Shane Baez being added is a big deal. All right. So I think Baltimore is going to be a tough team to deal with. And then they've got Kansas City, who I have said is the closest team to the Tigers in the division. I think Detroit has the best talent in the division. I think Detroit should win the AL Central. Kansas City will be their closest competitor. Bobby Witt Jr., obviously, arguably one of the best players in the world. Shohei Ohtani 1, Aaron Judge 2, Bobby Witt 3, no lower than 3. Maikel Garcia has really come into his own. Salvador Perez never seems to get old. Vinny Pasquantino's a really good player. Jack Caglione, pretty damn good player. Cole Reagan's decent starter, right? Chris Bubich, decent starter. All those things, all right? Do they have enough pitching? They have a top 12 offense, top 10 maybe, possibly. AL Central could be a challenge. What would it take to win the AL Central? Could Detroit win 90 games? Yes, I think they could. Kansas City, if healthy, could do something similar. They will be, I think, their most difficult challenge. That's from The Athletic. CBS Sports, when they looked at expectations, and they chose every division winner. Most picked Toronto in the East. Everybody picked Seattle in the West. And every player or every writer, all 5 of them who cover Major League Baseball, picked the Tigers in the AL Central. 4 of the 5 took Kansas City. One writer, I was leaning the Tigers before Framber Valdez signing, and that clinched it for me. Another writer, I think there's a pretty good chance the Tigers trade Tarek Skubal at the trade deadline, but I'm going to go with Detroit anyway. Another writer, Tigers suffered a catastrophic meltdown after squandering a convincing AL Central lead, losing the division to Cleveland last year, but they rebounded in October, beat the Guardians in the wild card spot, should be better equipped to close this season. 2 more here. This has been the makings of an interesting race between the Tigers and Royals. I think the Tigers have a significant on-paper edge right now. Framber Valdez was a big key. And one other, I nearly picked the Royals here. I like the makings of their roster, but the Tigers are better. I did not consider the Guardians. I know they exceeded what the projections think they can do most years, but I'm not buying it this year. And in case you were wondering, as I mentioned, Seattle in the West, in the National League, as you get ready for your fantasy baseball leagues, they pick the 3 out of 5 pick the Mets in the East, with the Phillies being the other 2. In the NL Central, all 5 writers picked the Cubs, and then the Brewers second. Pittsburgh's improved, by the way. Watch out for Pittsburgh. And in the NL West, everybody picks the Dodgers. That's not surprising at all. Anyway, wanted to give you that national perspective for the Tigers as they open the season tomorrow in San Diego. When we come back, the Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question, we have one out there for you right now. We asked you, speaking of the Tigers, what are your expectations for them? Win the AL Central, win the American League, win the World Series, or not make the playoffs? You can vote as often as you want at XB Mornings. I've retweeted it out at Shep Mad. Tim Hardaway Sr. will join us at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour. We'll talk about the Pistons and the perception in the National Basketball Association. When we come back, define Father Time, a guy who feels like he can still play at the highest level, signs a 1-year deal. We'll talk about that after this here on X's and Bros. We've been brought to you in the second hour by our friends at Meijer.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Farrah's Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Avello Airlines knows you love the Tigers because they love them too. It's why they have direct flights to Lakeland, Florida out of both Grand Rapids and Detroit. Thursdays and Sundays are nonstop out of GR, and Wednesdays and Saturdays are nonstop out of Detroit. So wherever you are in Michigan, you can get down to spring training to watch your Tigers. With everyday low fares, reliable service, you do not want to fly any other way. Head to AvelloAir.com to book your trip now. That's AVELO air.com and use code HUGE for $20 off a round-trip base fare if you book before March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
Back with you, final hour here on X's and Bros. We're with you Monday through Friday, 6 until 9, throughout the great state of Michigan. Thanks for being with us. Red Wings lose last night 3-2 to Ottawa. It is maddening, all right? 15 points in 2 months. Power play at 14%, a minus goal differential. They're a point back of the final wild card spot. They got a break. Chicago beat the Islanders. Boston lost to Toronto. Flyers fell short in Columbus, or to Columbus, I should say. But still, man, I mean, it's just, it's maddening because the opportunity is there and the way you played. You get all hit 26-13 is inexcusable. Sorry. Hell, there's a play. Dylan Larkin is in front of the net. This guy just comes back from injury. He's in a headlock and being wrestled around, and Red Wings are just standing around. Jesus. I mean, what are you going to do something? Honestly. Remember he got cross-checked earlier this year? Guys just stood around and didn't do anything. That would never have happened back in the day. Sorry to play that card, but it's just true, all right? Edmonton a winner last night. I know that doesn't matter to you, but what should matter is that Connor McDavid had 2 goals. He now has 1,200 career points. He's the third fastest to ever reach there. The third fastest. 784 games, and he's got 1,200 points. The only 2 guys who got there quicker, Wayne Gretzky, he did it in 504 games. And Mario Lemieux, he did it in 593. McDavid, by the way, is the 3rd highest paid player in the league. And he is the best player. Nikita Kucherov probably should be the MVP. But McDavid, 3rd highest paid player in the league. Leon Draisaitl, his teammate, who's out for the rest of the year, and Austin Matthews, out for the rest of the year, are the only ones who make more money than he does. Kevin McGonigal's made the Tigers' Major League roster. I love what A.J. Hinch said. A.J. Hinch said, this was a baseball decision, and it's all about winning. Who gives the team the best chance to win? And McGonigal is that guy. More walks than strikeouts in the spring, led the team in free passes, hit 250. He's going to play shortstop and or third base. He's going to be a guy who sees a lot of pitches, makes a lot of contact, draws some walks, gets on base, and it's something this team desperately needs. Pistons are back at it tonight. They host Atlanta. Hawks sit 6th in the East. They've won 9 of 10. Knicks beat Toronto last night, in case you're wondering. They've won 7 straight. Cavs of the Magic, they're 14-4 with James Harden. Here's the poll question. What do you expect from the Tigers? Win the AL Central, win the American League, make the World Series, or don't make the playoffs? That is the Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question. That's what we want to hear from you on. Feel free to join us any way you want via the phone line, the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843, the text line, Sports Radio 21,000, or you can join us in the chat like plenty of people have. Joe has, Noah has, Gio has. We appreciate all that. Okay, so join us in the chat. Follow us streaming live on X, on Facebook, and on YouTube. All right, really cool story, I think, in the National Football League. And it's it defies odds and it defies age. Joe Flacco is going to play his 19th season in the National Football League. And he's going to do so at the age of 41. He has signed a 1-year deal with the Cincinnati Bengals. So he returns to the Bengals, who also just signed Josh Johnson, I might add, who was another member of the 2008 NFL draft class and who turned 40 on May 15th. You know, Geritol, here we come in Cincinnati. Anyway, going to be pretty valuable as a backup to Joe Burrow, you would think. Zach Taylor, their head coach, said this. I think he's a starting quarterback in the NFL, about Joe Flacco. So I think anytime you've experienced that and you're able to get him back, that's a great thing. And last year, he threw for 2,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, 10 picks. Again, he's a backup. What's wrong with that? You would take that. All right? At least he's played. At least he's thrown passes, unlike some other backups, if you get my drift. Speaking of football, Brad Holmes sat down with a number of different writers recently and did a podcast. and talked about the 14 free agent players they've signed, all but one of them to a one-year deal, by the way. Cade Mays is the only one who received a long-term deal, if you want to call 3 years long-term. Here's what Brad Holmes had to say about the free agent approach. He said, we have financial constraints because of the mega deals given to the players who he calls his own, players who he's drafted, right? You know those stories. He also says they could be more active free agency, but the decisions will probably cost them because of the drafted and developed players that they are now targeting to extend. Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, right? These are the things that Lions fans have feared for a while. Their frustration has been that he's taking care of these young guys at an earlier than need to basis, thus creating a hole for what is needed on this team for the here and now. And I understand the mindset. I do. I also I hope you can look at it from Brad Holmes' standpoint too. Let's just use Amon-Ra St. Brown. Can we? Signed him to an early deal extension 2 years ago. At the time, made him the highest paid wide receiver. Most people in the media, most fans said at the time, that's outrageous. It's a big deal, man. Why would you sign him when there's Jamar Chase, he reset the market with Amon-Ra St. Brown? Yeah, he did. And now Amon-Ra St. Brown is a bargain. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the 9th highest paid player at his position. Brad Holmes got in front of it. Do you want to keep Amon-Ra St. Brown for an extended period of time? Absolutely you do. Would you want to keep Penei Sewell for an extended period of time? For sure. Is the deal with Jameson Williams that everybody criticized, does that look really good right now? Without question it does. I think the one that maybe some people have a hard time with is probably the quarterback position. Jared Goff making what, 50 million, 50.3, something like that. It's not Dak Prescott money, 55 million. It's not Jordan Love money, 55 million, but it's pretty steep. That's why I think a lot of people, when they look at teams' windows, Buffalo, Baltimore, for example, they look at those because their quarterbacks under big contracts. Jackson's going to get a bigger one. The teams that are competing for playoff spots and Super Bowls, like Denver a year ago in the AFC Championship game, with young quarterbacks, Bo Nix, who got hurt, ironically enough, and had to give way in that AFC Championship game, that's the ultimate goal. I mean, you get a really talented quarterback, Houston, CJ Stroud, and you're competing right away while he's under that rookie deal, that's a massive bonus. Brad Holmes said, when we're looking at the constraints that we have financially entering in, it's like, okay, we're not going to be able to do a lot of multi-year deals. This is talking about free agency. I don't want to call those extensions crippling, but would have been hard to overcome. We were kind of limited in how many multi-year deals that we actually could get. I don't think many Lions fans are upset about that. They're upset about the guys you originally got in the first place. Did they really think DJ Wanham is going to be a more than a one-year deal? Hell no. More on that on the other side. We're brought to you this hour by Avelo Airlines, AveloAir.com. They fly direct from Detroit to Lakeland, Grand Rapids to Cleveland. Check them out today. It's the only way to travel. It's clean, it's safe, it's on time. It's Avelo Airlines.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan. Now, they continue to grow. They got their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are worldwide. They are the leaders when it comes to accounting, CPA, and business needs. Simple and easy. Just Google Dorn Mayhew. And also, Josh Garvey joins me every Tuesday as we talk hoops with former Michigan and Cleveland Cavaliers head coach John Beilein. Tuesdays Tuesdays, 5 p.m., Josh Garvey, Coach Beeline, and myself, we talk Michigan, Michigan State, and the Pistons. Talking hoops happens all the way through the NBA Finals. And could you imagine if the Pistons are in the NBA Finals? If you ever have a hoops question for us, you can drop it at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook, and Talking Hoops every Tuesday at 5 p.m., presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew.
Avelo Air knows how much you love the Tigers. They love them too. They want to help you get to spring training in Lakeland because it is an awesome time. They fly nonstop from Grand Rapids to Lakeland Thursdays and Sundays, and nonstop from Detroit to Lakeland Wednesdays and Saturdays. Everyday low fares and reliable service. You don't want to fly anywhere else. Book your trip to Lakeland on AveloAir.com and use the promo code HUGE for $20 off a round-trip base fare when you book by March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
18 after the hour. Welcome back. Thanks for being with us on this Wednesday. We're brought to you by Avello Air and Avello Airlines, AvelloAir.com. Talking about the Brad Holmes sit-down in the multimedia podcast situation. He did talk about the offensive line. Now, the assumption is the Lions are going to go draft Caden Proctor, okay, whomever is there to help replace Taylor Decker. In other words, offensive line. We know what their needs are. Their needs are, we think, are a tackle, an edge rusher, somebody in the secondary, safety, cornerback, either way, maybe both, a linebacker, absolutely. You know, they got their running back in free agency, and I'm fine with that, and I think you are too. But Brad Holmes said this. He said, once we made the decision for the offensive line, made a commitment, it took us kind of out of some of the other options at edge rusher, including Al-Qadim Muhammad. He's referring to Cade Mays. And he says, you know, Mays precluded Detroit from making the bigger move at edge rusher. But he has been a big fan of DJ Wanham for a while. You know, that's, I suppose, who am I to say he's not telling us the truth? If you're a big fan of his, I mean, a 1 year, $2.3 million deal is nothing special, right? And considering a guy who hasn't been uber productive. But it is a hole that they needed to fill. It's just not the big name many people wanted or expected, DJ Wanham. From a tackle standpoint, Larry Borum, 1 year, $5 million is the contract. And when Holmes talks about Borum, and he says the assumption, or most people assume, he didn't say this, but the assumption is that Penei Sewell is going to move from right tackle to left tackle. And they signed Larry Borum, and he has been very complimentary of Borum, who's played 664 snaps at right tackle. Did so last year. And did the same for the Bears in 2021 and 2022. And Holmes said that he views Borum as a starting caliber tackle, which opens up the question, where do they go in the draft? Again, telling you this, they don't go by need. The Lions draft based on best player available, and I'm all for that. But one of those players that you're looking at better be in some of the positions where you lack the most. Via text. Shep, who is it most important for this year to win a playoff game? The Lions? ? Or fans will really start to rebel? Or Red Wings, because this team needs postseason experience? Well, here's what I would remind you. This team, when we say this team, it's not like John Gibson doesn't have postseason experience. It's not like Patrick Kane doesn't have it. James Van Riemsdyk doesn't have it. Andrew Kopp doesn't have it, right? Dylan Larkin's got it for a short period of time. There's plenty of guys. Justin Falk has it, won a cup. You have guys who have plenty of playoff experience. You're talking about the franchise in general. You're not talking about individuals. Certain guys like Mo Sider, Simon Edvinson, I get it, right? Albert Johansson, perhaps. But there's a lot of guys in this team who have playoff experience. Don't lose sight of that. I thought you were going to say, what's more important? Lions, deep playoff run, NFC Chip, Super Bowl. How about that? Lions Super Bowl, Tigers to the ALCS, Red Wings making the playoffs, Pistons to the NBA Finals. If you think things are linear, and I don't, if you think things are linear, it's already been disrupted. But at some point, your team collectively has to take that proverbial next step. I would say anytime you bring in the NFL, that's probably first and foremost. And especially since the Lions have not been one of those teams to reach a Super Bowl. Very few, all right? The Cleveland Browns, obviously being one of them. Forget about the expansion teams. Forget about the Houston Texans. Forget about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Even Cleveland is an expansion team to a certain extent. They left, went to Baltimore, and came back. Baltimore lost their team. Their band kept playing. For years, they kept playing. How? I don't know. It's a hell of a story. And now Cleveland's got their own team. So it's really Detroit as far as I'm concerned. That's the way I look at it. The postseason experience thing, I mean, is it enough that the Tigers have had postseason experience each of the last 2 years? Even though, again, I'll say, Verlander's had it, Baez has had it, Torres has had it, Veerling's had it. I mean, come on. But we group them all together as a team. Pistons. Duncan Robinson's had it. Tobias Harris has had it. Just because Dennis Jenkins hasn't doesn't mean other guys haven't, right? And you've got all these Pistons who've obviously played against the Knicks a year ago. I don't know if it matters so much where, okay, you got one series under your belt. The next year, that means you should definitely get to a second series. No, because you got another team to play. And what if that first team you're playing has more playoff experience too? That's why I don't buy into that stuff. You can get there even though you haven't been there before. My belief anyway. But anyone who says the importance this year of winning a playoff game, I would say the expectations, and rightfully so, for the Lions are a hell of a lot higher than that it is for the Red Wings. So there's a huge disappointment this past year for the Lions. The Red Wings will be a disappointment for sure, especially considering at this time in January, they were leading their division. But you also understand, you look at them logically and you go, okay, are they a playoff team? They could be arguably a playoff team, also understanding that they play in the toughest division in the sport and the best conference in the sport. But still, are they a playoff team? They should be. The other team, in reference to the text, the Lions, are underachievers, where some people believe the Red Wings are overachievers. And this takes me back to the case. If that is the situation and you think they're overachieving, what does that tell you about their roster? It reaffirms that you should have made a deal to make them better. Text line is Sports Radio 21,000. You can always join the chat via YouTube, via X, or via Facebook. So really appreciate the feedback so far today. I do like this. For what it's worth, I don't know how to take Giannis Antetokounmpo much longer, but I would say this: the NBA and teams in the league are starting to catch on that their reputation is getting pretty bad. Milwaukee wanted to sit Giannis Antetokounmpo for the rest of the year, and Antetokounmpo said, no way. The NBA Players Association rebuked the dispute. They've implied that Milwaukee is tanking, damaging the integrity of the NBA, which is kind of funny considering the NBA Players Association doesn't say that about guys getting load management. You don't think load management hurts the integrity of the NBA? You're damn right it does. People are tired of it. It's an 82-game slate, man. Come on. It's like Charles Barkley says. Hockey players aren't taking days off. They got 82 games. What up? Anyway, Giannis Antetokounmpo apparently is going to play, so good for him. Maybe just a little bit more integrity back into the game in that regard, and the Players Association in general. Speaking of players, by the way, did you see what Denver did last night and what Jokic did? Almost had a triple-double in the first half. Finished with 27, 17, and 17. Crazy stat line. We'll talk more about that with Tim Hardaway Sr. The Hall of Famer joins us on the other side. We're brought to you by Avelo Airlines.
In the Den with Dan Dickerson.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code HUGE for a special offer when you sign up. That's code HUGE, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. I was so happy to see Jahmai Jones make the opening day roster. As I mentioned last week, it was likely either him or Wenzel Perez, who would not be on the roster if Kevin McGonigal was added. If it was Jones, that meant the Tigers would likely lose him, and that would have been a sad day because Jones is just one of the great people you will ever meet. A personality that radiates positivity and wisdom. He lights up the clubhouse, and he can hit a little bit. Jones only had brief opportunities to play in the major leagues when the Tigers brought him up last May. All he did was crush in every opportunity. He became the Tigers' killer against lefties and was a great chess piece for AJ to protect the lefties in his lineup. Jahmai Jones is back, and in so many ways, that is a great thing for the 2026 Detroit Tigers.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Coming up later today at 3 on the Huge Show on the Michigan Sports Network, I'll deliver huge opinions on everything you're talking about.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Always enjoy talking basketball with a Hall of Famer, a guy who's at a next level when it comes to understanding the game. He is the co-host of the Crossover Podcast. You can find it anywhere you get your podcasts, including YouTube for sure. It's the best way to watch it, not just listen to it, but watch it. Watch the interaction. He is Tim Hardaway Sr. He and Lindsey Hunter on the Crossover Podcast, and he joins us here on X's and Bros. As always, Tim, we appreciate it very much. Pistons with a really nice win the other day against the Lakers, and they are now 8-2 without Cade Cunningham. They've won 4 straight since he had the collapsed lung. What's impressed you most about their ability to go about and move forward without him and a guy like Isaiah Stewart, who's been key off the bench when he's healthy?
Well, it starts in practice. It starts in training camp. You know, this is how we gonna play no matter who is on the court, who is out, you know, next man step up. You know, this is how we gonna play from whoever's in the game, whoever's practicing, starts in training camp. This is our mindset. This is where we're going to attack. This is how we're going to play defense. This is how we're going to, you know, get shots up, you know, and that's where it starts at. And once everybody understands that, then it's just out there just playing the game of basketball. You know, what happened to Cade is unfortunate. And, you know, they're going to miss their leader for a little bit, but they, you know, they still got a winning record. But I say this, you know, you can't just say, you know, the Pistons without their leader, and, you know, this is going to be an easy win. No, they're still number one in the East. They still playing like they're the number one team in the East, and they still playing like they're the favorite to win the Eastern Conference. So, you know, I like their chances. I still like, you know, Isaiah Stewart is going to come back, you know, soon. Cade Cunningham, you know, you just got to take your time and wait and see, you know, how everything is coming back together in its health. But, you know, I wish him well, and it's just unfortunate that happened to him.
What's the mindset of a team? Most teams, I should say, because we're not in that locker room. But what should be the mindset, or what has been the mindset of teams when they lose their key player? What was the mindset of a team you played on when you were out, or when somebody you were playing with and was key moving forward? How do you go about that, and how is it different perhaps than some of the other mindsets you have when they're in the lineup?
You know, that's a great question. A lot of teams struggle with that, but you know, it's not about the coaches. The coaches can put you in a predicament how to win. You know, this is what we need to do. This is how we need to do it. But it's the team. It's the team. It's players on the team. You know, they talking to one another. They interacting with one another. They saying, "Look, man, all right, our guys down. We know our guys down. But you know what? We got to step up for our guy. Our guy been stepping up all year for us. We got to step up for our guy and not have no letdowns. And we got to finish this thing strong, so when he comes back, he can make us stronger again." So that's what it has to be. And nobody can let no one down. We have to understand, all of us have to do our job like we've been doing, like he was playing. Our you know, our leader was playing. Now he's down. Everybody got to step up and play hard, and let's win games, and let's continue this surge towards the NBA Finals.
What have you,
as a team?
Yeah. What have you noticed about the maturation process of Jalen Duren while Cunningham's been out?
He's been playing a lot better. You know, I think he's been focused a lot more. You know, I think he's understanding his role better. Especially, I think you know, he's saying he's the leader of the team now. You know, I got to go out here and do more. I have to go out here and set the tone on defense. I have to set the tone on offense by rebounding the ball, making better plays, not turning the ball over, being focused on defense, understanding and helping out, you know, and talking on defense, understanding people getting into the plays and directing the traffic out there on the court for our team. I think that's, you know, he has showed up that way, and that's big. You know, when you lose your leader and he's telling everybody what to do, somebody has to step up, and Jalen Duren has stepped up, not only, you know, with his stats. You know, his stats are just stats, but, you know, just communication and leading his team to understanding what they need to do out there on the court and keeping their head together. That's big for them.
Tim Hardaway from the Crossover Podcast joining us here on X's and Bros. Check it out on YouTube. It's called Crossover Podcast. Tim Hardaway, the Hall of Famer, and Lindsey Hunter, the two-time world champion. When does the regular season matter? Because what I'm hearing from people right now is that San Antonio's a threat, and part of it is because they beat OKC a couple of times this year and kind of schooled them pretty good. But when I flip that table and I suggest, well, that makes the Pistons a threat in the East, and they say no, more so the Knicks, and I bring up the regular season trouncing 3 times, and they say it's just the regular season. I'd love to know, from your opinion, when does the regular season matter, and when does it become inconsequential when it comes to postseason matchups?
I don't care what people say. The regular season matters. That's why you get the seeding. The Detroit Pistons, they're going to have home court advantage through the Eastern Conference. That's big. That's super big. Playing home, if you got a home game, game 7, that's big. In front of your crowd, in front of home, you got a chance to win. That gives you a little bit of a upper against the other team. Okay? You still got to play. You still got to win. But, yeah, the regular season, to me, it's big. Yes. They still say, yeah, we beat y'all in the playoffs. Yeah, y'all got to beat us in the playoffs. Guess what? What if you all don't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and we do? So that means that still the regular season didn't matter. So then they'd be like, well, they lucked up. No, man, the regular season matters. That's why you play in the regular season, to get the seeding that you need to get so you can have a better seeding in the playoffs and have home court advantage as much as you can, because you never know that game 7 is an advantage at home. So whoever's saying that, I disagree with them. And yes, regular season does matter.
Knicks have won 7 in a row. They won last night. Cleveland won last night. They're 14-4 since the return of James Harden. I think Jaylen Brown is getting his rightful recognition now as an MVP candidate. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but he's a candidate. Who's the biggest threat right now, do you think, to the Pistons in the Eastern Conference?
Who's the biggest threat? I will say Boston. I will say Cleveland. And I will say New York. All 3 of those teams are the bigger threat. To me, everybody you play in the playoffs is a big threat to you, because you can't have no letdown. You can't have a oops game. Every game got to be a good game. Every game you got to try to win every game, because you never know. You never know. You down 3-2. You down 3-1. You can't get in that predicament. So every game to me, and every team to me, when I was playing, say like you playing, if you won and you playing, even if Charlotte come in 8th spot, right now Charlotte is rolling. So you can't take them for granted. People, even though you think that, we could beat them in 4 games. No, wait a minute. Charlotte is rolling now. Just look at their record. So that's how I think. So don't never take nobody for granted. Always understand what you need to do and how you need to take care of your destination, and feel that everybody you play in the playoffs is a threat, and take them as a threat and come out and do what you're supposed to do against them.
That's a really good point, especially about Charlotte. They've won 4 straight. They've won 7 of 10. They're the 9 seed in the East right now. Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, has talked about expansion, specifically Seattle and Las Vegas. 2-parted question. Should they expand? And what do you think of those 2 cities if you do believe they should expand to 2 more teams?
Yes, they should expand. I want to see another team. I want to see a team back in Seattle. All right. Okay. Because I don't think Gary Payton,
Sean Kemp,
big fella, Sean Kemp, and some of them other guys didn't get their just due for having their jerseys retired.
And Gus Williams, Dennis Johnson, Jack Sikma.
All them, man. It was just, it's more than just the basketball team. I want to see all that love that Seattle brings to that arena. back to. I want to see that again. And I love playing in Seattle. I think they have one of the best arenas in the NBA. But yeah, I would love to see Seattle come back. And I'm partial to Vegas because gambling, and we have a problem with gambling right now, and it's across the country and everything. And I'm just up in the air with it. I like the city, love the city. I'm just it's gonna be tough, man. I want to see what type of restrictions, what can we do to, with gambling and stuff. But that's why I'm at. That's why I'm at with it. I love the city. I love to see them, and I know people gonna go there. It's gonna be different nationalities every night at the NBA game. And
okay, so help me with this then. Help me with this. Milwaukee just got chastised by the NBA Players Association for wanting to keep Giannis Antetokounmpo out for the rest of the year. The NBPA says, sorry, that's ridiculous. It's obvious that Milwaukee is trying to tank. Indiana has been fined. Other teams have been fined by the league for openly tanking. It is something you as a Hall of Famer and others have talked about openly, which tells me there's not enough good talent for 30 teams in the NBA. Why would you expect it to be different when you add 2 more and rosters get even thinner?
Well, you know what? I think there is more talent out there. My thing is that these guys, they believe in their mind. They've been coming into the league from high school, from college, resting. Okay, tanking, that's always been a part of it. I mean, if we want to get real, I mean, tanking is tanking. I mean, I haven't been involved in tanking, but I have been involved in some type of tanking back in the day where, we got, but back then, what I like to see? I would like to see if you IR, you sit down like we used to have IR where you had to sit out for 5 games. You couldn't play for 5 games instead of taking a rest. Yeah, we don't see how long you really run the rest. So you got to rest 5 games. 5 games could last you a week and a half, at times. So yeah, I want them to bring IR back and you sitting down and not playing for 5 games instead of you taking a rest. I mean, I think it is talent out there. I think it is guys. I see guys on the bench. Some benches like OKC, like San Antonio Spurs, some on Denver Nuggets, New York Knicks. Some guys on the bench. They got some good guys that can play. They just can't get off the bench. Detroit Pistons, they got some good guys on the bench. 11, 12, 13, 14th man that can play. But they can't get off the bench because
Paul Reed's a good example of that, isn't it? Paul Reed, you look at
it's a bunch of guys on the bench that can really play. And OKC and San Antonio, they got 12, 13, 14th man on the bench over there that is ready to play. That they can't get on the court unless somebody's hurt. And when they do get hurt, they come on the court and they play like damn near like all-stars. So yeah, it's parity in the league. You just got to go out there and get it.
Last question for you, Tim Hardaway Sr., the Hall of Famer, joining us. OKC has won 12 in a row. I don't think it's a quiet 12, but they're 57-15. They're not going to set an NBA record, but this team is as consistent as it could possibly get. Are they far and away the best team in the NBA, or are they barely the best team in the NBA? They're just getting a lot of love because they deserve the recognition based on what they did last year, and they have an MVP candidate in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Well, the games I've seen, like against Denver, when they Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had to bail them out with a couple of shots, and they not playing. They don't play well against San Antonio Spurs. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander said, the Spurs got a number, and that's that's tough for us. And down the road in the playoffs, we looking at that. That's going to be in our minds that can we really beat this team? And right now they can't. So they're a really, really good team. 1 through 12, 1 through 15, they're a really, really good team. But the San Antonio Spurs, I think, has their numbers. They worried about San Antonio Spurs. I really think they worried about Denver Nuggets too, and their team. And when their team get whole, that it's going to be a tough 7-game series with them. So right now, and I say this all the time, during a regular season, you playing different teams. You very rarely have a back-to-back with the same team.
Yeah.
And when you have a back-to-back with the same team, you might win both of those. You might go 1-1. You split. But when you playing different teams, it's hard for like Dallas Mavericks, Denver Nuggets, Phoenix Suns, New York Knicks. It's hard to come in and you try to play and try to stop the OKC Thunders because you just got to be playing somebody else and you only got 1 day, maybe not a day to prepare. So yeah, it's hard. So that's why they win in games. So in the playoffs, it's one team against one team, and it's for 7 games. And I think that's where you can really, really, really get down and see how you can stop the team. So I think they still the team to beat in the NBA for the NBA championship.
Yeah, it sure seems like a great insight. Tim, always appreciate it. Keep up the great work on Crossover Podcast with you and Lindsey Hunter. We'll be watching and listening and learning as we always do on the podcast Crossover. Tim Hardaway Sr., have a great week, my friend.
You too. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Tim Hardaway Sr. joining us here on X's and BrO's. Let's get to the final results of our Mitchell Lions Wealth Poll question of the day. We give you one every single day, and yesterday we asked you, will the Red Wings make the playoffs? It's a simple yes or no. What's the confidence level, Trent Bally, in everybody in Red Wings Nation?
56% no, which doesn't surprise me. Yeah, I'm actually shocked it's not higher.
I thought it might be a little bit higher, too. I agree. I thought it might be in the 60 percentile. Kevin on the stream on YouTube said, Shep, per our Twitter exchange, your B-block segment on the Eisman young players, et cetera, is sublime. It's encapsulated the entire state of Red Wings in this era, and I've shared it. Thank you for that, Kevin. He also says it's not only not Hockey Town in the media, too, Shep, with the exception of maybe one anchor. There's not many who actually find it interesting at all. A friend of mine, Sean Belegian, and he and I do a podcast on Monday nights, sometimes on Tuesdays, but we try to keep it on Monday nights. He definitely talks a lot of hockey, and we talk hockey together. We hope we give you enough here on X's and BrO's, and we'll continue to do that and strive to always be better. Thanks for taking some time with us on a Wednesday. We've been brought to you by Avello Airlines, AvelloAir.com. We're back with you tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock. Don't forget the huge show later on today at 3. Have a great Wednesday, everybody.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink